Good morning and welcome to America's Home Cooking. Today I'm making a bacon and egg salads sandwiches, and I'm going to serve cottage cheese with it and put some canned fruit on top of it with fresh fruit, maybe some nuts and coconut, but like a cocktail. Now for people who want to buy, you can buy your cottage cheese if you wish and buy a fruit cocktail and do it like that. I have cantaloupe growing out in the yard, and I'm going to wait for it to mature, and I'm going to sit there and cut the cantaloupes in half and clean out the seeds and stuff, and then I'm going to cut the base of it so it'll sit on a platter. You can put salad greens around it if you wish, and then what we like to do, this is what my family does with cottage cheese and cantaloupes, is we will pack the center of it with literally cottage cheese and then sit there and pour fruit cocktail over it, and that is a breakfast and a half for us, and we have had it like 4 or 5 times. It's a big one. You can also do it as a dinner, but I would serve some sort of starch with it to make sure that it sticks through the night. Starch is a sugar that burns slowly, and it will definitely prevent your children from getting hungry in the middle of the night, and they want you to get up and cook, or you'll hear them rummaging. But we've had it for breakfast on a weekend, when you just want your family to sit outside, like a morning picnic, and you fix that. It's real easy because you can make the cottage cheese ahead of time, and canned fruit, you already have it ready. For those of you who don't, you could sit there and buy a fruit cocktail. Just be careful of the corn syrup in it. Try to get one that has natural sugars in it, which is more healthy for you. So what I'm going to do is bring this up to temperature, which is I think 150 if I remember. Haven't made it in a year. And it seems to be one of your favorite videos is on how to make this. Yeah, 150. I remembered the number right. Yay! You don't add any salt or anything. The only thing you have to worry about is bringing this up to 150 that you don't burn the bottom, because it will carry the smell of burnt throughout your cottage cheese, and that's not what you want. And I will have whey from making cottage cheese, and I will can that whey, and I will be cooking with it because it still has protein in it. So we're not getting rid of all of it. And if you're worried about the vinegar smell or anything, you don't have to worry about it. It doesn't interfere with the foods that you're using. So when I start to make stews and stuff for the winter and soups, I will be using the whey, if not my vegetable stock or bone broth or whatever I have. I should put it that way, because I have pork, I have veal, I use all kinds of stocks. At one time, women used to do that. You buy in the store now, all what you see is chicken, beef, vegetable. But women didn't do that before. They made venison, they made turkey, they made veal, they made whatever bones they had. They would cook them down as much as they could to get that flavor for the food, and plus the nutritional value that you get. Because if you make these bone broths and stuff throughout your life, for your family, your husband will not have arthritis. He will not have joint pains. He will be doing quite well. I know a lady whose husband retired and his joints are killing him. He says it hurts to move. He doesn't want to move at all. I told her, you got bones? I mean, my freezer always has bones in it. Hold on 1 minute. Don't eat too much. You make yourself sick, Timothy. So I told her, collect bones. I'm notorious for collecting bones if we have steaks. I said, don't throw those bones out. If we have fried chicken, I said, don't throw those bones out. I'll put them to use. This is where I try to use everything in the kitchen to make sure that my family stays as healthy as possible. And believe you me, 72, and I do not have arthritis, and it seems to run in the family, but yet I am immune. Well, I'm not immune. What I do is I try to make sure. And for having 3 children, though I lost one, you know how many minerals can be pulled out. So I wanted to make sure that I stayed healthy as possible. But if you're taking medication and you're doing that, it's almost a standoff. And doctors are so quick to give you medicine at a drop of a pen. I have listened to people, they say you take this and you take that. If we have like parasites and stuff in our bodies, are things in our body, and let's not call them parasites, like the glue that sticks on our pancreas that causes diabetes because the cells can't work and killing them. It would have to be our diets that's doing that. It really must be. I'm sorry, I can't look at it any other way. If a disease runs in the family, whatever nutrients you're low in, you have to feed those, get those nutrients into your body. I have read through the ARE files that it takes 3 to 4 generations to wipe a disease out. So if 3 to 4, like if heart attacks run through the family heart conditions, you make sure you eat healthy 3 generations, and the 4th generation continues on that, you will wipe out the heart problem that you have. If you have arthritis problems, you can clear that up just as easily. I didn't want my children, I have allergies. I'm sensitive to drugs, I'm sensitive to chemicals and filth. Get around these things and you can see what happened. I started breaking out here, and you could see my arms on some of the videos. I break out easily. My sons are much better than I am. I mean, they have 1 or 2 that they're allergic to, that they have a problem with. But me, my list is like zoom up to here. So you can see that as you eat healthy, each generation is better than the one before. And I think it's funny when people say, do you always cook like this? Yes, I do. Your grandmother and great-grandmothers cooked like this and even better. Like I have to take, what, 5 extra minutes of my day to make my own baking powder just to make sure I get rid of the aluminum, because the aluminum, I'm sure, is some of the things that are not supposed to be in our body that is actually causing a lot of our problems. We have some things in the body, they say we don't even know what it does. It's just like morning sickness, and pregnancy mask is a B6 deficiency. When you're pregnant, B6 and pantothenic acid shoot way up. Boy, I made sure I covered those grounds with the other B vitamins to make sure. This is why you constantly see me. I'm going to use whole wheat with white or something, and I know a lot of you like just white flour. Well, that's fine, you can use it, but there's nothing there except a lot of sugar, and they bleach it unless you get unbleached. All flours will bleach naturally on their own. If you sit there and get bleached, they actually use bleach. You know, get your clothes, use bleach. A lot of people don't know this, I'm sure, because my grandfather taught me this, that what his mother used to do, and they used to do is they had bushes growing around the home and all. And what she would do is, how could she bleach her clothes? Because there was no bleach, so you thought the clothes would be dingy. They weren't. What they did was they washed their clothes and laid them on, because they didn't have clotheslines at that time. They sat there and laid them on the bushes. And the plants had chlorophyll. They produced chlorophyll. And it bleached their whites in their clothing. See, like I told you, there's a history in cooking. There's a history in clothes. There's a history in art. There's a history in writing, music, not just war. Though they just teach us that history, there is another history, lots of different histories, and you would be surprised. And so that's how women used to bleach their clothes and get those bright colors and stuff. So that's why our clothes aren't as white and we have to use liquid bleach. I want to put a clothesline up and get them in the sun. They are so bright when they come out of the sun, you would not believe how bright clothes could be. Though women want to be lazy and they sit there and they'll just throw them into a dryer. But when I get things up and running, if I ever get things up and running, I do want to definitely have clotheslines put up so I can sit there and make sure that I can hang the clothes outside and get that freshness and that beautiful brightness on the colors. Because when you bring them in, you're like this squinting because your whites are really white and your colors are very bright. And that would save your gas or your electric bill some because women wash a lot of clothes. So think about it. You will need a thermometer for this. Okay. Let's see where I'm at. Okay. We're almost there. Another thing, remember, is milk. When you heat it up and you stir it, you won't have the coat up here and down there. You don't scorch it. You keep it going like this, stirring it. Because the heat's on the bottom, the top is cold. You won't get the right temperature. This is why I tell you to stir it. One of my sons and I were talking yesterday about when I went to buy animal for my husband and how he carried on because we were going Christmas shopping. What we did was we were buying all the nieces and nephews and our sons toys. So we went to Toys R Us, you know, the big warehouse of Toys R Us, and we were going through. Now you have to understand that my husband introduced the Muppet Show to our sons. It was just, yeah, both of them were born by then. I finished having children. And I think they were, what, 5 and 3? Something like that, very young. Maybe even younger than that, maybe 2 and 4. And we went to we asked a friend, Ricardo, if he would sit there and watch our sons while we went shopping. Okay, I hit 150, add 3/4 of a cup of vinegar. Stir it, and I'll get back to the story in a minute. You can see the curds will be developing. Make sure you mix that vinegar completely or it's not going to work. You see what's happening? See. If you just pour it in and you don't thoroughly stir it, one part will not curdle and the other part will. This is why I really stir mine. We're going to put the lid on it and let it sit for 30 minutes. Okay, I'll finish the story, then let's see, 30 minutes. Okay, so what we were doing is we were going through the store and they had a whole Muppet area. Really, really there. I was really happy. So I went and I picked up, and it was a big animal, you know, who plays the drums on the Muppet Show. And they had the pieces to move the hands and everything, just like professionals. And I put it in the shopping cart. Now remember, all the children are young. And he said, Sandy, they're too young for this. I continued walking through the store. He said, Sandy, they are too young for this through the store. Do you hear me? And I said, Tony, leave it. And he said, Sandy, we went up to the cash register and I'm unloading the toys. And Tony is still carrying on that Animal is too big for our sons. And I said, I'm buying it. And he says, Sandy, and he came through the whole store. He says, Sandy, this is a waste of money. The children will not play with it. And we're packing up the toys and Animal comes through and she says, you want this? And I said, yes. And Tony says, Sandy, no. And I turned to him and I told him, it is your Christmas gift and we're buying it. He said, oh, can I have it now? I said, no, you're not going to get it till Christmas Day. He argued. He didn't know I bought it for him because he loved Animal. Every time they saw that, was it Monday or Wednesday night? I can't remember what day of the week. The children and him were in front of the Muppet Show. They loved the show. I gave it to him on Christmas Day. He knew what his gift was. I couldn't hide it because I told him in the store because he was fighting me so much about getting him. He didn't know it was his gift. And by the end of the day, my husband was hoarse and our sons had been giggling all day long. Tony acted like Animal and chased the children around the house and everything. And by the end of the day, he didn't have a voice. He did that. I started laughing. He tried to ask me for coffee and he said, what? So we kept it on the bed and the children couldn't wait till Daddy had a day off so they could play with Animal with him because they thought it was their toy. And I said, no, that's Daddy's. You can't touch that. That's on the bed. That's for Daddy. But that was a day that was very, very funny. And my husband sat there and was demanding that the children were too young to play with Animal. It's evident they weren't. Anyway, listen, I'll see you. We have to let that sit 30 minutes and I'll be back. Okay, I have a bowl with a strainer here and a towel. You have to get these curds out and I have to strain it, but there's a lot of liquid as well. And I want to make sure the bowl can hold my liquid. If it can't, I'll have to get a bigger one. So see, there'll be no waste here. This is the beautiful part. We'll salt this after the cheese. But the whey is just full of protein. So why waste it? But for those of you that don't want a can or don't want to save it, I know you pour it down the sink. You could put it into your garden too. It'd be good for your garden. Shoot, this is pretty high. I need another bowl. Something bigger. Oh, geez. I always miscalculate on this. So give me a minute. I have to transfer this. So you need a really large bowl. I'm just going to move the strainer over, leave the liquid in this. Let me see. Next time, remind me I need a really large bowl. We'll clean this. Get this finished going through. Okay. As you can see, this is a long way. And I don't want to waste any of it. So I'll be canning the whey after we make this. You see how clean that whey is? This is why we use the towel. Just letting it finish running a bit. Now, leaving this whey in this towel, what you're going to do is you're going to run cold water over it to cool it down. Don't worry, it doesn't look like a lot right now, but when we get done, there will be a lot. So I'm going to go do that right now in a sink full of dishes. So just run cold water, squeeze it, run the cold water over, and you keep doing that. And what you're going to do is you're going to cool it down and clean it up. I'll show you, but ignore the dirty dishes that are in the sink. Let's see if you can see what I'm doing. Hold that towel closed. You see? If you don't do this, it'll have a slight vinegar taste, so we're actually washing it off. But you don't want to lose any of the curds, so that's why you use it in a towel. Now you're going to run it out. You turn the towel, and I'm holding it up here, you see. Okay, let's move the whey over. Like I said, don't look at my dirty dishes. Haven't done them. Break them up. going to mix a whole teaspoon of salt into this. Do not use kelp in it at this point. You do need iodized salt. I do not use pink salt, so I don't know if you can use pink salt in this, so I couldn't answer that question. You're going to need up to half a cup of cream. Oh. I hate these things. This has become a real bug trying to get it. You might want more than a half a cup of cream. Depends upon how you want your cottage cheese. You want to dry your cottage cheese. It would just dictate on how you like your cottage cheese. I couldn't give you an exact. Now I know to stick this in the refrigerator like this, and it's going to absorb the cream back. That's why I always add more cream to mine, because I know what it's going to do. Now, if you're afraid of heavy cream, you can use a light cream on this. But this is how you make cottage cheese. And as you can see, as you break the curds up and you feed them, this is why you have to cool them down, because hot, they'll reabsorb everything. So you cool them down and you rinse that vinegar off of them. You put this in the refrigerator. Now, if it's too dry after it's sat in the refrigerator, you just add more cream till you get the creaminess that you wish to have. Okay? That's good. That's really good. But they recommend half a cup, let it chill, and then you can add more if you wish more. It just depends upon you. But like I said, if you're afraid of too much heavy cream, you can use light cream in place of it to make it easier. But you cannot add milk back to this. I'm going to put this in the refrigerator and let it take care. And I'm going to get ready to clean that pot out in time to can whey. Okay, I'll be canning the whey soon. Now this is going to be a cold pack. My canner, my pressure canner is going to be cold. The whey is going to be cold. The jars are going to be in the oven at 220, then I will bring them out and cool them down. All of this will be canned cold, just like milk, heavy cream. What else do I can? Evaporated milk. Any of those, they're all canned pretty much the same. Now, why is it a cold pack? Because if it's hot, you're going, from the whey, it's going to sit there and you're going to get more curds. Okay? So we didn't get them all, because though it's clear, and you can see that it's clear, that once you start heating it up again, you're going to have more curds. So See, I'll show you. So we won't be heating this up at all. Now you're going to need some vinegar. Now I have an All-American, so I have to use Vaseline on the beveled on the top and the bottom so mine will seal. If you have a gasket, which is a rubber, you have to make sure that you constantly keep that oiled, because if you don't, it will dry out and brittle, and then you have to buy more. So this is saving money. Now, in spite of this being a cold pack, we are going to bring it up to PSIs, which is pounds per square inch, according to your altitude. You have to check that. I cannot do that. Mine is 10, so I will bring this up to 10 on its pressure, and then I will turn it off and let the pressure drop back down. This is how, like I said, you do the dairies like this. Let's see, I have, what did I can? I know I've canned evaporated milk, heavy cream. You cannot can, what was it that I tried canning that didn't work? Do not try canning buttermilk. That does not work. You have to keep that and make that constantly. Oh, I can't even remember. But anyway, whey is treated like the dairies in that aspect. Now, you're going to have to wipe the rims of your jars with white vinegar, but be careful not to get the vinegar into the jars after you pour the whey into it, because if you do, it's going to mess up your whey, which you don't want to do. Also, because it's a liquid, you don't think you have to debubble it, but you have to, because little bubbles will sit down at the bottom. So you just go around and release them and they'll come up. Most of the time you don't, but there'll always be one or two that'll be sitting there, and then it goes bad and you don't want it to go bad. All right, let's see. And you pour whatever vinegar you have left in a container that you have dabbed your paper towel or napkin to wipe the rims down. You make sure you pour it into the water so your jars do not become cloudy. This way they stay, I don't have them, they're in the oven right now. They're nice and clean. Now the reason we heat the jars up to 220 is we're sterilizing, and that's also boiling point. See, you have to take it to that point. Now when you take them out, do not put them on the counter directly or any place. Put a towel there and put them on, because they are very hot, and you know your counters are not at 220 degrees. Now once the jars are cooled, I'm going to fill them up with the whey to about an inch to an inch and a half. No, scratch that. It'll be an inch or a half inch from the rim. Okay, that's it. I think I pretty much generalized how we're going to do this. Now those jars are going to have to sit in the oven at 220 for at least 20 minutes to heat them and sterilize them completely. So please remember that. Just don't turn it up and leave it there 5 minutes. You've got to leave it there for a good 20 minutes. So they'll be thoroughly sterile, because if they aren't, and you haven't washed them and cleaned them, you will notice that they don't, when you go to use them, you might see the bubble popped up in the center. If it pops up in the center, it's bad. You cannot use it. Okay? Botulism is something you don't want. Okay? So that is your key, that your canned goods are sealed properly. So when I do this, when you first take them out from being canned, the bubble will be up. But by tomorrow morning, the bubble should be sunken in. Now, for people who do not wish to can, but want to use their whey, get a half-gallon jar, or if you have a pitcher or something, pour the whey into it, stick it into the refrigerator, and use it. I mean, if you don't want to can, you can do it that way, but see, I make a lot of things, so I'm going to can. I've got like 4 bags of vegetable peelings I'm going to be canning soon, and get them into jars, so that will be packed up, and then I'm going through the bones that I have collected, and I'm going to be canning those as well, so my family, we will have all these things ready for us. So as I make cheese, I will be putting the whey in as well, so that gives me a variety that I can use any vegetable stock, bone broth, or my whey, or anything that I can like that, I will be able to use in cooking. All right, so I'm gonna have to leave you for now, because we gotta let those jars sit in there, and then I gotta let them cool. Okay, see you then. Okay, the jars are cool. They were in the oven for 20 minutes, and now they're cool. I can handle them. That's it, friends. Girl stuff. I do make a mess. Did you ever notice that? Oh well. We'll have some to go into the refrigerator. That's good. Whatever I have left in the pot here, I'll be putting into the refrigerator. This is just in case there's any bubbles down on those bottom, you want to release them. I've seen my grandmother and my mother can, so I'm aware of it. Now just be careful you don't get any vinegar in these. Just going to wipe the rim off. I even use whey when I make bread, believe it or not. Yeah, I pull it out. I use whatever I can to make sure that the food is as nutritious. Take this and pour it into the can with your water. That'll keep all these jars looking nice. Especially if you want to give some of your canned goods to your friends or family, you know, as gifts. Believe you me, finger tight only. If you take a look, the bubbles are up. By tomorrow morning, if we do everything right, they will be down. Do always follow the instructions. There we go. Put this right here of your canner. You don't want any problems with your canner, so do read your instructions and follow it accordingly to what they state. You must know I'm actually checking the canner, trying to level it off to the best of my ability. So I'd have to feel your way around. Tighten those lids up. Put it on high. Don't forget, it has to vent 10 minutes solidly, not spitting and spatting. 10 whole minutes. Once it's done venting, 10 minutes, then you put the weight on it. So definitely you might have a different kind of canner than I do. Read those instructions. Be aware that it's dangerous. So you don't want a little one in the kitchen with you when you do it, because if you make a mistake, it can hurt. So we have to wait for it to start venting, and then I will be back. Okay, it's been venting 10 minutes. Now I put my weight on for 10 PSIs because that's what it is for my area. I'm going to bring it up to 10 pounds of PSIs, and then I'm going to be turning it off. That's how you do it. And I'm going to let it drop back to 0. Because there's no time clock except to bring it up to your PSIs for your area. And then you turn it off when it's milk, whey, any sort in that category in dairy. That's exactly how they like it done. Okay, here it is, and as you can see, there's some more curds down at the bottom when you can. That's why you have to use a cold pack with this, and as soon as it hits your PSIs for your area, you turn it off. Okay, that's pretty much it. These are going to have to cool until tomorrow morning, so I will see you. Take care and have a great day. Bye-bye.